Hello storytellers, welcome to Bound by Words. My name is Madii. I am a freelance editor and fantasy writer, and today we are talking about 10 famous writers' writing routines. I think this is really exciting with Camp NaNoWriMo right around the corner in July. So if you're the type of person who is either still figuring out their groove or likes to experiment, here are some writing habits and routines and goal setting things that you might want to try in your own writing process. Don't mind me as I read off of my trusty notebook, but I don't want to mess up any of these lovely writers' writing habits. The first one I marked was Haruki Murakami, and I think this one is actually talked about pretty often, mostly because of how impressive it is. So this is probably going to be one of the hardest writing routines out of all of the ones that I have recorded today. He gets up every day at 4 in the morning and writes for 5 to 6 hours. After he is done writing for 5 to 6 hours, he runs 10 kilometers or swims 1,500 meters, or both, depending on the day. After that, they read a bit and listen to music and then go to bed at 9. They are quoted saying that a long novel is basically like survival training, that it takes just as much physical endurance and stability as it does artistic sensitivity. The next author that we have up is Stephen King, another very highly talked about but less strenuous writing schedule to try in your own routine is to wake up, have a glass of water or a cup of tea. He sits down to write every day between 8 and 8:30, always in that half an hour, and then he has a vitamin pill and listens to music, and all of his stuff is in the same place. All of the papers are stacked up, computers situated the exact same way, and he tries every day to get 6 pages. Both Haruki Murakami and Stephen King are quoted saying that it is the repetition that is the most important. And I see that a lot when it comes to famous writers or published authors that are well known talking about their writing routines and schedules, and sometimes I wonder if it's because, you know, they are already at a point in their life where they have made such a business habit of it, when some of us are still like at our day jobs and writing in the evening. But it's definitely inspiring to read that and think about doing it every day, even if it's just short term for a writing challenge. Next up we have Angelou, and I think her writing routine is something that I would never be able to stomach myself, which is one of the reasons that I loved reading it. She wakes up every day at 5:30, has coffee with her husband at 6, and then when he leaves for work at 6:30, she goes to a hotel room at 7 that she keeps just for the purpose of writing. It's like her writing office area is a hotel room where she keeps only a dictionary, a Bible, a deck of cards, and a bottle of sherry, and I thought that was hilarious. I love the entire aesthetic that reading that sort of like the picture painted in my head. But she writes from 7 when she gets there until 2 p.m. unless the writing is bad. If the writing is bad, she stays until 12:30 and then wraps it up. And if the writing is going well, then she stays for as long as it's going well, or until 2 o'clock where she comes home. Now that I think is absolutely magical and exciting. What I think is most tedious, that I don't think I would be able to do repetitively on her schedule, is after 2 p.m. when she goes home, she reads everything she wrote. And then she goes about the rest of her evening with her family, and then after dinner she reads aloud what she wrote that day again to her husband. And during that time she doesn't accept any comments or feedback from him. It's just the sake of reading it aloud to see how it sounds. And she said she only accepts comments from her editor. So I think the entire system there is something that I think is really impressive and would work really well. But the reading what I had written that day, you know, once to myself and then once aloud to somebody else, I think I would be too nervous to do it, but I have a lot of admiration for her for being able to do that. Next up, we have Charles Dickens. Charles Dickens gets up at 7 every day, has breakfast at 8. He is in his study relentlessly every day by 9 and writes until 2, having a very brief break for lunch. And one of his children was quoted saying that he seems like he's in a trance whenever he has this brief break, like his mind is still working and he really just emerged to eat food and disappear again. On an average day doing that amount of work, he can write at least 2,000 words. Sometimes if he's really into it, he's quoted saying that he can write double that, but he's also quoted saying that sometimes he might not get anywhere near that much down, which is kind of funny because we think NaNoWriMo is that 1,667 words. 2,000 words a day, and he works from 9 until 2 p.m. every day, so that is a lot bigger of a time commitment than I think a lot of us really budget for ourselves when it comes to writing 2,000 words. After that, at 2 p.m., he takes a 3-hour walk either through the countryside or London to get inspired, to see the scenery, and to just think over his book and where he wants it to go from there. He then has dinner at 6 and is in bed by midnight. Next up, we have Jane Austen. I think Pride and Prejudice was one of my favorite classics to read, probably that and Dorian Gray were the ones that I appreciated the most. She rises early, earlier than most women, it says, and plays the piano. At 9, she coordinates a family breakfast and then settles in one spot to write while her mom and her sister sew either in the same room or nearby. And if there's ever visitors, she tucks away her writing so that she can sit and sew and be social. But the fun part of her writing routine is that dinner is served between 3 and 4, and after that, her and her mom and her sister spend the evening reading novels aloud, including what she wrote. I was surprised by the number of writing routines I read that involved reading aloud to somebody else. I would be so nervous. Next up is one of my favorite YA authors, and that is Sabaa Tahir. She starts writing in the morning, but only because she has to, she is quoted saying in the interview. She drops the kids off at school and then goes straight to the office. Every day she tries to wrap up around 5:30 so that she can have the evenings free for her family and her kids. When deep in drafting or editing, she prefers to work at night and is quoted saying that the best ideas come at 2 in the morning. So I feel like I resonate a lot with that one. Like, I get up and I work during the day sometimes because I have to, but my preference is definitely to work in the quiet of a dark room with some mood lights and maybe some music on late into the night. She also says that early on in her draft, she's lucky to get about 500 words a day, but then as the ball starts rolling, she averages closer to 1,000 words a day. So in that long day of writing and working on her novels, she averages about 1,000 words. But a funny extra tidbit she threw in there is that on deadlines, she has been able to write up to 8,000 words a day in a panic. Next up, we have the infamous John Green. He writes 4 hours a day or 2,000 words. He is a pantser and believes that no great book can be written in a first draft. He said that he actually deletes probably 90% of his first draft, and in the couple sources that I found, he didn't have a strict writing time or writing system when it came to his 4 hours. He just designates 4 hours where he will be working on his novel and pushing to create progress. Next up, we have V.E. Schwab. She uses a calendar system, and she marks every 500 words written in. Her goal is to write every day, so the minimum being 500 words there. But she actually has some vlogs on her website I would definitely recommend checking out. And she does show her calendar, and it does show that she has some days anywhere between 2, 3, maybe even 4,000 words. But she gets a desktop calendar, and she creates a key at the top, and one sticker in this color is 500 words, and then one sticker in this other color might be exercising, one sticker in another color might be admin work. So she'll assign herself stuff like that, and then every day as she completes those tasks, she places stickers on her calendar. So if she has a day where she wrote just 500 words, she puts one of those stickers. If she wrote 1,000, she'll put 2. It's really interesting to see her calendar, so I would definitely recommend looking that up. Her vlogs and blogs are all on her website, and she has such a great personality, so I would definitely look into that if you're looking for some writing inspiration. We have just 2 more authors to look at. Next up is Brandon Sanderson. He writes every day with the word count goal of at least 2,000 words, or if he is editing, 10 pages. So he says that he gives himself a word count goal that it's at least 2,000, so some days it might be 3, some days it might be 5. He says that some days he is writing 4 to 5 hours, but then there are some days where he writes 14 to 16 hours. Most days he writes between the hours of 12 and 4, and then again between 10 and 12 at night, or sometimes 10 to 4 in the morning. I think that's actually a schedule that I can sort of wrap my head around just trying a lot easier, from 10 to 4, and then again from 12 to midnight or a little bit later if you're still feeling energetic and creative. But he does say that if he is not doing anything else, he is writing because he is so extremely passionate about writing that he loves to do it, so it is what his brain immediately wants to do in any of his downtime. So as much as I think 12 to 4 and 10 to 2 would be a fun writing experiment to try, it seems like from what I was reading from his interview that he often spends a lot more time than that on his novel. And the last one, and definitely not least, is Marissa Marr. I remember absolutely devouring her books when I was in high school. She is quoted to say, and this is my most enjoyed writing routine that I think I relate to right now the most. She wakes up in the afternoon and spends time with her family and getting anything else done she needs. And when everyone goes to bed, she writes from when they go to bed until 5 in the morning and then sleeps until 10 or 11. It's so funny because in the article, she just talks briefly about each stage of that, how she writes her best at night. And at the very end, she says, "This is not a healthy routine and I do not recommend it." And the reason it makes me laugh so much is because I feel like I have a very similar mindset where it's like I write my best at night, and then when I'm doing that good work, I don't want to stop, and then I sleep in because I stayed up the night before, and then every day I wake up knowing that that probably wasn't the smartest thing that I could have done for my own health. So kudos to Marissa Marr for being super honest and upfront with us about her writing schedule. If you found any of these writing routines interesting, make sure you give the thumbs up and consider subscribing. We post writing related content here twice a week, and we have some fun events coming up in the writing community. We have the Worldwide Write-a-thon on the weekend of June 18th. I think it's the 18th and the 19th. And then we also have Camp NaNoWriMo next month in July. So hopefully we'll do more writing routine, experimentation, starting new work in progress videos. If you're looking forward to trying any of these writing routines, comment down below and let me know what the most interesting one was for you. And if you do try any of them, definitely let us know how it turned out in the end and if it was beneficial for your writing or maybe not so much.